Well, you've made it to the last door of the Advent Calendar of Hope, and it comes to me to tell the final story. I wanted to end the Advent Calendar journey with a story of hope for the future. I, like so many of us, have found 2020 pretty brutal. Back in the summer months, homeschooling while juggling my own work was grueling. Trying to support my wider family with the restrictions that were in place, relationships have felt truly stretched to the absolute limit at times. And too often I found myself feeling rubbish that other people seemed to be thriving around me when I was barely making it through each day. I so wanted to be the person who looked back with satisfaction on the months of lockdown, proud of how well I coped, how my family had thrived, how I'd made a meaningful contribution to my community, when the reality too often was so far from that. Like so many of us, in isolation, I was confronted with myself, me in all my rawness, too often impatient, angry, fearful, selfish. In the months of lockdown, when achievements and successes were in short supply, I was left with a stripped back, nowhere to hide version of me. A complex jumble of love and hate, trust and fear, selfishness and generosity. And it was pretty disillusioning to be confronted by this version of myself with all my fears and failures. But as lockdown relentlessly ploughed on, I gradually began to be confronted by something even more profound than this. I began to experience the love and mercy of God in a way I'd never known before. It seemed that when I was confronted with even the very worst version of me, I found a God who didn't turn away to seek someone else who was more successful or more together. But I found a God who sought out me and turned towards me and bore witness to all my brokenness and looked on each fragment of it with compassion and love. It seemed that God wasn't shocked by the things that horrified me. He wasn't disillusioned. He didn't turn away. I experienced a God who is love. And that love was enough to cover and even to heal my brokenness. The mistakes, the failures, the fears no longer seemed to have the final say. With all my brokenness laid out bare for God to see, his words came to me, "You are loved." Not because of what you've got right, not because of what you've achieved, not because of what you've produced, but because you are my dearly loved child. My story of hope is that in our deepest sorrow, our biggest fear, our worst regret, God doesn't turn away, but he seeks us out and he looks upon us with incomparable compassion and love. And he is able to exchange our brokenness and sorrow for love and hope, even in the face of that which we fear and dread the most. On the grass outside St Andrew's Church, we've set up a cairn, and this cairn of hope is just a simple pile of stones that have been offered as symbols to God. Can I encourage you, if you'd find it helpful, at some point over the Christmas period, bring a stone and add it to the cairn, a stone that represents your sorrow or your burden, and lay it on the cairn. And as you lay your stone down, you might like to use the prayer that we've provided on the fence then, or a prayer of your own words, and to exchange that burden that you have for the love and the hope of God that penetrates even the deepest darkness. That each of us might face all the uncertainties and the messes of 2021 in the sure knowledge that each of us are loved. As Christmas Eve turns into Christmas Day, we celebrate this amazing God who didn't turn away from the brokenness of the world, but came among us in Jesus, born in the mess of the stable. Jesus who still seeks out broken people and brings healing in the mess of our world and in the mess of our lives. And if you'd like to know any more about this Jesus, we have an Alpha course starting online on the 13th of January. All the details are on the church website. I want to finish with a Bible verse from Romans chapter 8 that has meant such a lot to me in this past year. I am convinced that nothing can separate us from the love of God. Neither death nor life, neither angels or demons, neither our fears for today or our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell, no power in the sky above or on the earth below. Indeed, nothing in all of creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of God that is revealed in Jesus Christ. May each of us know the love and compassion of God this Christmas and in the year ahead. Happy Christmas.